even stream it here on the live stream. I got to adjust the camera so we can see Todd. Don't want to miss his
there we go.
his mug. There we go.
Good morning.
And we want you to tune in and I don't want to see myself, but we want you to tune in because we've got a really great show for you. Of course, it's a big couple of days here in Caldwell County, Todd.
Well, what about last night? I mean, what do you say about that?
Awesome.
Elijah Sindelar, the game he had to win the Foster Farms Bowl for the Purdue Boilermakers, throwing for 396 yards and 4 touchdowns, and the game-winning touchdown and with under 2 minutes to go last night. And then we find out after the game he's done all this the last 4 or 5 games with a torn ACL.
Yeah, unbelievable. Well, what a gutsy performance, and I think he's actually tore that ACL during the Northwestern game. Or yeah. So that was 3 or 4 games ago.
Yeah, so he's been playing with it for some time. That was the mystery knee illness that we never heard anything about because everyone was forbidden to talk about. But just a great game for him last night, and the first half especially, probably the best half of football I've seen him play since he was in high school.
Yeah, and I was in and out of the game. I got to see a lot of the first half. I missed the second half. But, man, I tell you, what a gutsy performance, and boy, proud to be a Caldwell County Tiger today. Facebook and all the Twitter feeds were lit up with Elijah Sindelar. And congratulations to that young man and the entire Purdue team. They got to
absolutely.
Win. And afterwards, he said, "Hey, man, we're coming back next year, and we're going to do it again."
Yeah, the offensive MVP of that game. Who would have thought that going into the season, that at the end of the year, Purdue would be in a bowl game, would win the bowl game, and our boy Elijah would be the one, leading that charge.
He kind of has a little bit of a aura around him, I think.
I
mean, there's just something. You write fairy tales. People write fairy tales. This just kind of has a fairy tale type story to it.
Well, and he's just a sophomore.
Yeah.
And I think he probably at least has the lead going into the quarterback race next season at Purdue, although David Blau was injured. Some people say you can't lose your starting position because of an injury, but that's going to be an interesting situation when they come back because I'm not sure either one of them now is going to go through spring drills.
Right.
So it's probably going to be next fall before they kind of have that quarterback competition. But, man, it would be tough to take Elijah out of that spot right now.
It would be after that bowl performance. Again, MVP-type performance, a record performance for the Foster Farms Bowl.
Yes.
I just hope that this surgery, I think he's having surgery tomorrow.
I think was it the 28th?
Okay,
Yeah.
29th. Today's the 28th. Tomorrow's the 29th. So I think I think I saw where he was having surgery on Friday. So he has some rehab and some recovery.
I was told there would be no math.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, you don't want me doing any math, I can tell you that. But just what a really, really great performance. And like I said, Purdue, a lot of uncertainty there midway through the season, and the unfortunate injury to Blau. But then Elijah steps right in there, has a couple of, mediocre games to say at best, but then he sort of took charge last night.
Well, a tough situation for both of those kids because you're going out there and as soon as you make a mistake, you're getting pulled for the other guy, so that doesn't really help your confidence. It doesn't allow you to go out and play freely because as soon as you throw that pick or whatever, you're coming out of the game. And
exactly.
Once David Blau was no longer there or in the quarterback picture, I think Elijah was able to say, okay, this job is mine, and he could settle down and just go play. And if you throw an interception, well, you shake it off and come back and keep playing. It's a whole different scenario for those guys.
Exactly. But, boy, I tell you, what a gutsy performance, fantastic performance in all of Princeton, Kentucky, and really West Kentucky, proud for the hometown boy.
Oh, yeah, I think a lot of people have sort of taken on, ownership of that Elijah Sindelar thing now, and we just saw the tweets and everything on Facebook last night where everybody was congratulating Sindelar and Caldwell County and, Purdue and the whole family for just the big effort.
No doubt about it.
And, of course, the reason we're at the cab this morning, the West Kentucky Hoops Classic gets underway at 11 o'clock. The Caldwell County Lady Tigers will open things against the Ballard Memorial Lady Bombers at 11 a.m. And, pretty good game out of the gate for the girls because the Lady Tigers are 6-3. Had a 6-game winning streak snapped last time out, so they'll be trying to get back on the winning track. And Ballard Memorial is 7-3.
Yeah,
got a big girl, Leah Shelley, coming in, a 6-footer that, pretty good player. So
It ought to be fun to watch.
Averaging about 18 points and 9 rebounds a game. So she has something the entire Lady Tiger team doesn't have. Yeah, that's some height.
That's some height and some size. But where we don't have that, we sort of have in defense, speed, and tenacity.
Well, like we've said before, the Lady Tigers play a little bigger than they actually are.
Exactly.
You know, nobody tell them they're not big because they get on the boards and they battle you. And like, what does it say? It's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog.
Yep.
So, I mean, they'll come out and battle you, and there's not anything you can do about somebody being taller than you. I mean, there's just not.
No, you can't, and you know, that's an advantage that they have over you. But there are ways that you can combat that. You know, you play team basketball, use your speed to your advantage. But yeah, with those one-on-one matchups is where, you know, it can kind of get a little shady.
But a huge day of basketball, just tremendous day of basketball lined up. A little bit later on is, I think, when we get into the meat of the opening day schedule. Around 5 o'clock is when I'm expecting the gym to start really filling in, because you have Westridge Academy from North Carolina and St. Louis Christian from St. Louis, Missouri going at it. And then that next game at 6:30, Cy-Fair Learning Center out of Houston, Texas, will take on Aspire Academy out of Louisville. And I think Aspire Academy and Charles Bassey, the big man from there, I think is the game everybody's kind of wanting to see.
Everybody's talking about Mr. Bassey, and it ought to be fun to see him hit the cab and watch the performance. But not only Mr. Bassey, we have some fine schools here with very athletic players that you're going to see at the next level, definitely the D1 level and several other levels. And who knows where you might see some of these guys play.
Oh, yeah, they'll be on TV at some point.
At some point they will be.
And then we're going to finish up the day with the Caldwell County Tigers taking on Memphis Ridgeway. The Tigers have played well of late, went 2-1 up at the Butler County tournament, so they've gotten back to even at 5-5. I think Ridgeway's about 5-2, and those Memphis teams are always pretty stout, so that'll be a big challenge for the Tigers in the late game tonight.
It will be a big challenge, and of course WPKY will broadcast live our Lady Tiger game at 11, and then we'll come back and broadcast live over the air the Memphis and Caldwell County Tiger and on WPKYonline.com. But yeah, Todd, you know, it's always good to have a challenge, especially this time of the year. I mean, you've got, you know, several games under your belt now. You're figuring out who you are as a team. But a good challenge never hurts anybody, and it just makes you better as you head on down into the season.
Well, this is good for the Tigers, I think, especially this year. Sometimes teams put together their own tournaments and they bring in a couple of teams that they can beat. You know, nothing wrong with that.
No.
But I don't think the Tigers have that here at all, because I think Ridgeway is going to be really good. And then the Tigers tomorrow night finish up the whole event at 8 o'clock with Dyersburg, Tennessee. And going into the season, you know, when we started looking at this tournament, it looked like Dyersburg was going to be a team that, you know, maybe the Tigers could get a win against, because, you know, they were rebuilding a little bit, graduated 4 starters off of a really good team last year. But as it turns out, you know, they're going to come in here with a pretty good record. And one kid has over 30 points the last 2 games. They've won a couple of games coming into this thing, so probably not going to be as easy. I don't think any of these games on the schedule are going to be easy for anybody.
No, I wouldn't think so at all. And really, I would say just what I've just observed and seen of our team, you know, we're going to have a pretty good battle on our hands, both, you know, these games that we come out. You know, we're going to, you know, it's going to be a challenge for us. We're going to have to dig deep and really play well to play with these teams and possibly get a win. But I think we can.
But we hope to see a big crowd out here, especially, you know, the later end of the evening we get. Probably not going to be a packed house early on for the 11 o'clock game, but a couple of girls' games to start things off. Ballard Memorial and Caldwell County will tip it at 11. And then Corinth, Mississippi, which is making a return to the West Kentucky Hoops Classic, will play Callaway County's girls at 12:30. Then at 2 o'clock, we get to see Dyersburg's team in the first boys game against Corinth, Mississippi. Again, the Warriors and Lady Warriors making a return trip this year from Corinth. At 3:30 today, we'll have Callaway County and Ballard's girls finishing up the girls' slate. And then at 5 o'clock, like I said, Westridge Academy and St. Louis Christian. Then at 6:30, Cy-Fair Learning Center and Aspire Academy. And at 8 o'clock, Memphis Ridgeway and Caldwell County finishing up a busy, busy day. And, you know, if it goes like last year, these games fire at you one right after another.
Oh, yeah.
There's usually about maybe 10 minutes between games, and then another one gets started. So it's just basketball action wall to wall once we get going.
Yeah, and a lot of fun. And folks, we encourage you. Yes, it's cold outside, but it only takes a minute. Warm up the car. You get cold for a second, then come on into the cab, because it is warm in here. This is a fundraiser in a way.
Oh, yeah.
This is all this money from the concessions, and anything that is made goes to Caldwell County Athletics, all of them.
And the Caldwell County basketball teams.
Yeah.
If you look at the sponsors list, and they're already up on the wall over here, I see.
Yeah,
so
yep.
A whole lot of sponsors giving money to this, and it's just turned into a big fundraising event for Caldwell County, and a chance to see some teams you're not going to see. And you don't have to drive to Louisville or Nashville or wherever to see these. We got them right here at home.
Exactly, and it's festive. We're through with we got New Year's coming up, but Christmas is over. Kids are out of school, and the good thing, Todd, every Caldwell County Tiger student gets in for free.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what else? A wonderful day for Thursday and Friday. Cold outside. You really can't do anything outside. You might as well be in a gym and take in some really good basketball.
Well, I was told it was cold in here earlier this morning, but they've got the heat going now because it's starting to feel a little warm in here now.
Yeah, you got some sweat beads up there.
Yeah, it is.
They can't see that on stream, so I just thought I'd
What's
point
the
that
resolution
out.
on the camera?
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. They might see it, but no, folks. We encourage you to come out. It's going to be a great 2 days of basketball, and I'm just excited as I can be, and wish we could bring all of them to you here on WPKY. And there may be a time when we do that, but it is at least we're going to get our local teams, our Caldwell County Tiger, Lady Tiger teams. We'll broadcast all 5 of those games, 2 today and 3 tomorrow.
Well, every game will be live and in color in the gym.
You got it, man. You got it, and we want you to come on out. So let's take a quick break,
okay?
And we will come back and talk about, not just this great tournament that we have here in town, but Todd and I have all kinds of things to discuss with you today here on the Sideline Report. It's brought to you by the Times Leader. We certainly appreciate Todd Griffin taking his time out to come in weekly to do this show, and we hope you are enjoying it. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back here on the Sideline Report here on your hometown radio station, 103.3 FM, 1580 AM, WPKY, The Tiger.
Meter tampering is dangerous. Tampering with an electric meter is not only dangerous, it is dishonest and against the law. Stealing electricity by tampering with an electric will result in your arrest and can risk your life. Tampering with results in increased utility bills that everyone has to pay. If you see anyone tampering with an electric, call the Princeton Electric Transport right away at 270-365-2031. Princeton Electric Transport, Princeton's #1 energy source.
Tri-Cities in Princeton would like to give a big shout-out to one of our own, Jess McDowell. Jess has given Tri-Cities 34 years as one of our top service technicians, and General Motors thinks so also, as they selected Jess in the top 20 service technicians out of over 7,000 in the Southeast region. We're so proud of you, Jess. The extra time and dedication it takes to achieve this honor speaks volumes about him. Tri-Cities Incorporated offers top-notch service to all your GM and Chrysler vehicles by certified technicians Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Call 270-365-5522 for your appointment today. Tri-Cities Incorporated, Highway 91 North in Princeton.
And we are back on the Sideline Report here on your hometown radio station, WPKY, The Tiger, Todd Griffin. And we're at the cab, Ty Englebright, and we are warming up, and we're seeing some warm-ups for the West Kentucky Hoops Classic, and Todd and I are having a hard time. Our near 50-year-old eyes can't see who's on the jersey out there. But hey, they look like they're ready. Of course, the guys always, I'm sure, want to come in here and get an idea of what the floor feels like and the rims. It's always a little different place somewhere else we haven't played.
The first thing I spotted when I walked in the door today was our new video board is up.
Yes, and it looks great. Pepsi Mid-America, helped supply that, and it's going to be really cool to see. Hopefully it'll be in use today. I don't know.
I'm not sure. We'll find out.
Yeah.
It'd be a good time to break it out and get some use out of it. I think I made a mistake, though. I wish I would have copyrighted that logo when I stuck that together, because it's on everything now. I never expected it to.
It really is.
To get the play it did.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It really has.
That's absolutely an old Clemson Tiger logo that, and the CCs at the bottom are the former CCs that used to be on the football helmet. So I just kind of put the two together
yeah.
and made a logo, and the next thing I know, it's on everything.
You should have copyrighted it. I'm telling you, because it is a great logo.
Not sure. Can you copyright somebody else's work?
I don't know if you can or not, but it's definitely a great logo, and you do. It's everywhere.
And it's kind of a unique look. You know, it's not just blatantly a college logo. It kind of has its own touch.
It really does, but it is a really good piece of work. And
I played with it a little bit just to make it a little different.
Yeah, but it's fantastic. And when you see it, you know it's the Caldwell County Tigers. So that's what you want when the logo, and so that's what we have here. So, man, last night again. Let's get back to Elijah. How do you think he's feeling today? I mean, what could be his emotions? You know, I'm sure he knew he was going to have surgery. It was kind of a secret. But man, he had to be feeling no pain after that performance last night.
Oh, that was sweet. From the get-go. I don't think the game could have started any better last night for Purdue. They go out and force a 3 and out. Then they go right down the field. He throws, the quick out, and the guy slips a tackle and runs for a touchdown.
Touchdown, yep.
But to me, it was the second touchdown pass that was most impressive because I think he wanted to go to a different receiver, and he changed his mind. And I'm not really sure he got his feet set before he could throw it. But, I mean, it was an NFL-caliber throw because in high school sometimes you kind of had this elongated throwing motion, and you didn't see that at all last night. I mean, the ball was just behind his ear and gone.
Yeah.
And basically a flick of the wrist, and he's thrown a rope 50 yards for a touchdown. And I'm not sure a lot of college kids can make that throw.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, of course, you have to give credit to Coach Braum because there was a little bit of trickery there. I saw a report from CBS, and, again, I did miss it. But when they were toward the end, when they were...
Oh, the fake kneel down.
Yeah. So, he's known for that. I think that's probably why they brought him to Purdue. He's gutsy, and you have to appreciate that kind of coaching.
That's part of the mystique, I think.
Sure.
And even at Western Kentucky, he would pull out a trick play or two every game. So that's just something you have to prepare for.
Yeah, and, of course, Elijah, too, some of those Brett Favre, when he fakes and goes somewhere, he sells that pretty well, too. He did it here at Caldwell County with all the old Statue of Liberties and the phantom-type movements and things with his arm. I mean, he sells it really well, and it works great.
But it's great to see the progress of a quarterback. Go back to when he was a freshman, and, of course, he had some humongous games. That first game out of the gate as a freshman when he throws for 552 yards, and I can't even remember how many touchdowns in that 80-62 win at Caldwell County.
Yeah.
But, you go back and look, and he still had, some bad habits like a lot of quarterbacks had.
Sure.
He would try to back out of the pocket, and he would try to throw some passes that maybe he shouldn't. I didn't really see him throw a lot of bad passes last night. A few maybe were low, but he was giving his receiver a chance to go make the catch and protecting the football. And to me, though, another one of the big plays was when he got some pressure. It came from the outside, and that's one of those deals where if you step back, you're stepping back into the pressure. And I think it's just human nature to want to step back if you're the quarterback and that pressure comes. But no, he stepped up right inside the block, was able to get out a short pass. It turned into a big first down for Purdue. And I'm like, that's just the progression, getting better, people working with him, and
understanding the game. He's always had pretty good game sense,
Absolutely.
And awareness around him. But, yeah, that's just a solid progression of a really good student athlete. That's on top of their game.
Because he's always had the arm strength.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've always said he can make all the throws.
Yeah.
I think that's you even see when Purdue calls plays when, they kind of roll him out one way and it looks like they're going to go to that short side of the field and then they bring somebody back across and you have to throw it. Well, that's a long pass.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look like it as much on TV sometimes because, maybe it's only 10 yards down the field, but from the angle it's being thrown, it's a 30-yard pass.
Exactly.
And not everybody can make that pass.
No, that's for sure. And just, to find out that he had that injury, that even makes it more stuff of legend, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
You build on a legend.
What was it we saw last night on Twitter that only 2 other Purdue quarterbacks had ever thrown 4 touchdowns in a bowl win?
Yeah.
And one of them was Drew Brees.
Yeah, so there you go. That's pretty good company.
You start looking ahead, and nobody knows what the future holds, if he will ever have a chance to play pro football or whatever, but I think the kid's definitely got the arm. Again, that pass down the middle, maybe in the NFL you have to get that ball out a little quicker and make that pass a little sooner because everybody's so quick. But again, I think there's a very short list of college quarterbacks that could even attempt that pass, much less pull it off.
Well, I think if you just look at the ingredients that it takes, he's got the arm. I'm pretty certain he has the head.
He's got the size.
And he's got the size. So, barring, unfortunately, the knee injuries are problematic to extend your career, maybe at the next level, especially. So.
Well, and unfortunately, when you get one of those, it seems like, they just follow you. It stays with you forever. And of course, I was maybe 10 feet from him the first time when that happened down here against Murray in the playoff game,
and you knew it.
You could. And the bad thing was he had already crossed the goal line. I'm not going to sit there and say it was a dirty hit, but it was maybe an unnecessary hit because you've scored, you've relaxed a little bit, and then somebody pops you from the side.
Yeah.
And that's how he got hurt the first time. And Caldwell County was on a roll that game, and then that completely changed things, and Murray came back and won that game. That was just a huge moment right there for the Tiger football program. And, again, you hurt that knee, and it's kind of hard to shake that knee injury.
Do we know if it's the same knee or is
I think it was.
It is. Okay, so this is the same knee. Okay, so there you go. It's been repaired. He's been through rehab. Had the red shirt, and now
the great thing is though, those guys are going to get great care. The college quarterbacks. Yeah. I mean, they're going to take care of him because big things hopefully in the future.
Yeah, I think so, and hopefully. He will have a very successful procedure tomorrow and get, right to the proper protocol and rehab. And, we wish him well. We really do.
Absolutely. I mean, he's just fun to watch and a really good kid. And those are the kind of kids you pull for.
Oh, yeah. I was with a group of folks last night out of town watching the game. And it pretty much was lit up and everybody was having a good time watching it. So... very, very proud. It's hometown proud. Like I said, you see it all over social media. Whether you really have a close connection or not, you try to figure out a way.
Well, and one of the Purdue guys tweeted after I think the third touchdown pass that was a 95-mile-an-hour fastball he threw.
Oh yeah,
and,
I saw that.
One of the things we talked about earlier this year was some of the Purdue fans saying, well, he throws the ball too hard, and I'm like, I'm not really sure that's an issue. I mean,
no. If you can't catch it, at that level when it's thrown to you, and there's just, there's just times, you got to throw it that way. You don't want to throw an old duck up there.
Well, I think that third touchdown pass, that ball wasn't caught so much as the ball caught the receiver. He threw that in there and it stuck.
Yeah, and whether you got a little Play-Doh like I got here in the old bread basket, it just you better stick it somewhere.
Well, again, as a receiver, especially on the college level, and as quick as those guys are, it's almost like the NFL anymore, as quick and big as everybody is. I want the ball there as quick as it can get to me. I don't want the pass, fluttering in the breeze while guys are waiting to tee off on me.
You're going to get creamed.
Give me the ball, let me have a chance to catch it and protect myself and maybe do something with it.
Exactly. But
I was fired up. It was hard to go to sleep last night after watching that. You're just so fired up and just thinking about what's going to happen next year, and if Purdue can go out and maybe find some receivers and continue to build that offense.
But I really think the receivers came on toward the end of the year. I think some of them were underclassmen, and we were talking about their ability to catch the football from him. But honestly, if you look the way they closed out the season, needing those wins and finding a way to do it, you just felt. And you think, okay, well, they had a break from the last game of the season to the bowl, but, they looked pretty sharp last night.
Well, and credit Purdue's defense for a lot of their success this season. Sure, we watched the Purdue Boilermakers, and we're watching Elijah Sindelar a lot.
You're right.
Even last night when they ran for the touchdown, I'm like, man, I wish that would have been a touchdown pass. Like I was watching fantasy football. It was one of my fantasy players or something. But we get so caught up in that I don't think, if you take a look at the whole season, it was the Purdue defense, especially against the run, that probably got them into a bowl game.
Oh, yeah.
Now, yes, Elijah came on and had some good games at quarterback late in the season, but the defense is what set the tone for them to have a good season.
Yes.
You know, if they can continue that and then add some offense on top of it, and I think it'll be a fun offense. I think, you know, we talked about Coach Braum. He likes to do things. He likes to take chances and call trick plays. It'll be fun to watch once they get everything in place.
It will be, and I think they will probably have some momentum for next season and be on a high after this win, and really have a lot to build on. You know, we know the coaching is there with Coach Braum. You know, he is dealing with some, I'm sure, players that were there before he got there.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you know, now, you know, his staff gets to bring in the guys and do the recruiting aspect. So I'm sure they got a good idea of how they're going to build that team, and hopefully around Elijah Sindelar.
Well, you look and you think, well, 7-6 wasn't the greatest season ever, but when you look at a program that, you know, the previous coaching staff won 9 games total in whatever it was, 3 years or 4 years.
Exactly.
So 7 wins is a significant step up. It's kind of like, you know, trying to make the transition into the Kentucky football now with the big bowl game coming up tomorrow.
Yep.
Well, Kentucky won 7 games last season, and it was a big deal because they hadn't been to a bowl game in a while. They were trying to build. They were trying to dig the program out of a hole. Well, you look at this season, 7-5 seems like it's a bit of a disappointment. The Wildcats really need that bowl win to get to 8-5, and you know where they can show some progress. But you just don't get the buzz this year for the Music City Bowl and playing Northwestern that maybe you got last year when they were playing Georgia Tech in the bowl game.
What's the line on that game?
I'm not sure. I have to think the Northwestern's favored.
That's what I would think. I mean, I would say
9-3 Big Ten team against a 7-5 SEC team that struggled the last 2 games, and really the last 3 losses against pretty good teams. The Cats were outmatched.
Right.
So I would think Northwestern. But we talked about it earlier. A lot of times these bowl games are won by the team that is excited about being there. I thought last night, especially early, it looked like Purdue was a whole lot more excited to be in that football game than Arizona was.
Exactly. And you know, I think they were pretty disappointed in the crowd that was there. You know, I think that I saw some press where, you know, it's probably the worst attended Foster Barnes Bowl that there ever had. I don't know how long the Foster Barnes. I mean, I don't. Is that
Foster Farms?
Foster Farms. Oh yeah.
I called it the Foster Brooks Bowl.
Well, I know a guy named Foster Barnes. That's so funny. Oh my goodness. But yeah, the Foster Farms Bowl. I don't know how long it's been in existence, but I think they were pretty disappointed in the crowd. But you know, honestly, that was a pretty entertaining game. I mean, 38-35.
Well, and those things are for TV. I mean, let's face it. I mean, I think the Music City Bowl tomorrow is probably going to be a little poorly attended because, again, Northwestern thought it should be in a better bowl.
Yeah, and
bluntly, it just thought it should be in a better bowl.
And who's going to travel from up there to Nashville? I mean, I guess people. I mean, I guess they will. They'll
and not really a huge fan base. Not like some of the bigger football teams.
No, they don't. But they have a solid fan base.
Oh yeah.
No, but not huge, like you said. It's not like Kentucky, and I really think the Kentucky fans will show. I really do. Probably maybe not like it used to be.
To a point they will, but you have to understand that the Kentucky-Louisville basketball game is at noon tomorrow, and then the bowl game's at 3:30, so you can't really do both. You'd have to think a lot of the people around Lexington will probably choose to go to the basketball game if they have the opportunity.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
The bowl game will probably pick up a lot of the Western Kentucky fans.
Yep.
But if I was going to go to the bowl game tomorrow, I wouldn't even worry about tickets. I would just go down. I think you could probably get some cheap tickets. Just get in. I think there will be good seats available, so I wouldn't spend a whole lot of money online for tickets. I would just show up and
I think that's
you could probably spend $25 and get in.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, the streets, Broadway, and all up through Second Avenue, and all up through there, they'll have tickets galore.
But the weird thing is, it's a big doubleheader for Kentucky tomorrow with, you know, the Louisville basketball game at noon on CBS, and then the Northwestern game and the Music City Bowl at 3:30 on ESPN. Hasn't really been much buzz about either one. I mean, for that Kentucky-Louisville basketball game to be, you know, one of the games of the season, I think when basketball writers start making their list of top games to see each year, that Kentucky-Louisville game is one of them, but I really haven't heard much about it.
You're exactly right. I remember being back in the early 80s when I was middle and high school, it was shirts were printed up, Dream Game.
Oh, yeah.
You had Dream Game, and you had, a Wildcat and a Cardinal usually facing each other, and, I mean, it was a big deal, man. And it has been even in recent years, but just, I haven't heard much about it. Nobody's fired up about it.
A lot of the luster has come off of it. I think the Rick Pitino stuff has kind of dampened the Louisville season.
No doubt.
Regardless of what they do on the court.
No doubt.
And people haven't bought into the Kentucky team. There's so many freshmen, and quite honestly, when you watch them, it looks like a glorified AAU team.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. They had that loss last weekend to UCLA. Was it Saturday?
Yeah, and didn't look very good.
Didn't look very good, and they just, they're, I think, ranked 16 in the AP poll, and I don't know where they are in some of the other polls. But, there's just, I don't know. Maybe I know a lot of folks are still fans and are excited about them, but I don't know.
Well, you hate to, base your entire opinion on the basketball season on what happens in December, because that's not really an accurate indicator all the time of what's going to happen. But when you look at both teams, you're expecting both teams to be top 10 type teams come into the game, and again, for this to be one of the biggest games in the country. And you look at Kentucky, who is 15 or 16, depending on which poll. Louisville is not ranked. Again, the whole season on both sides has just kind of been a little,
It's been a little strange.
Less than desired, I guess, for both fan bases. And there are losses and there are losses. If you play well and get beat on a last-second shot, I think people can accept that.
Yeah.
But Kentucky did not look good at all last week, I thought, against UCLA. The score could have been worse. I think there was 8 or 10 they lost by, or something like that. It probably could have been worse. But I think that's what you get with this team, and when they're learning. I think Coach Cal's still tweaking stuff and trying to figure it all out. And you have so many freshmen that they're just going to be up and down. What was it, the Virginia Tech game the week earlier where they looked so great and everybody was talking about, maybe we've misread this team, and then they play the UCLA game and they look like they've reversed.
Yeah, I think you're just going to see some inconsistencies, and hopefully by the time, you get into the season, late January into February, you hopefully have a handle on where things are going.
Well, you look at all the talent on the team,
and
you think at some point that's all going to come together, but so far it really hasn't.
No.
I don't know if there needs to be another one of Coach Calipari's famous tweaks.
Exactly.
I would like to see them run their offense more through the big guys. Get the big guys some touches, and if you're going to shoot jumpers and shoot three-pointers, do that off the kick out from the big guys. Don't just come down and one guy try to break somebody down and get to the basket or pull up and shoot. Get your big guys involved just to get some kind of semblance of an offense going.
Yeah. Who you think Kentucky wins this one?
Probably.
Yeah.
Before the UCLA game, I would have said sure, but number one, it's a rivalry game, so it's tough to.
Oh yeah.
Tough to call those all the time. For Louisville, it's a big game because,
it's Kentucky.
A win over Kentucky can make your season.
Yeah, exactly.
If you look at it from a Kentucky standpoint, yes, it'd be a really nice win to get. It would probably help you later on seeding-wise. It probably costs you a little bit if you lose. I don't think it's the end of the season if Kentucky loses that game.
No.
It's not the end of the season for anybody. Like I said, it's December.
It's December.
There's still a whole lot to go, but I think if you're a fan of either team, you just want to see some kind of spark, some kind of, something there to tell you that.
And get you excited.
Hey, we're getting better.
Yeah.
Not that we're there yet, but we've turned a corner and we're on the right path.
Exactly. What about the football game? What's your prediction for the bowl game tomorrow, Music City Bowl?
Well, again, it comes back to which team is more excited about playing, and right now I would say that should be Kentucky. Kentucky, the Wildcats should have a bad taste in their mouths from those last two games, especially, the way Louisville handled them and then the way Georgia handled them before that. So a chance to get that 8th win, that would distinguish this year's team from last year's team, because last year's team, again, we talk about the great season going 7-5. They lost the bowl game and finished 7-6. If this year's team can get that win in the bowl game and go 8-5, well, then you can prove progress.
I think so.
Kentucky fans, I think, are still upset about the Florida game.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're always going to be upset.
Oh, yeah.
Some didn't like the Ole Miss loss, but to me, that game was a toss-up, and a kid made a play.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's
maybe
what
Kentucky should have won, but I don't think that's a horrible loss.
But that's what happens in those games.
To me, you look back to the Florida game, and you just failed to cover a receiver twice, and it goes for a touchdown, and you get beat by 1 point. That one's tough to overcome.
Yeah,
I think you're even seeing it because I don't think ticket sales have been great from Kentucky fans for the Music City Bowl, and I think there's still just that bad taste in everyone's mouth from that one game, and whether that's fair or whether it's not fair, I mean, I think that's just the case.
I hear you. Well, it's 41 minutes past the hour. We got about 20 minutes more. We might run a little over today, and we've got a little, we're festive. We're in the holiday spirit. It's the West Kentucky Hoops Classic. We're at the Cab.
We're watching practice. We've got basketball coming up all day, so this is like bonus.
It is, and we've got a treat for you coming up here after this next break. Todd and I have a listing of our top 5 sportscasters, our broadcasters that we enjoyed listening to. I hope you will find that you maybe have a few in common with us. We're going to take a short break at 9:41, and we'll be back here on the Sideline Report here on your hometown radio station, WPKY, The Tiger.
Planters Bank, located at 208 North Jefferson Street, is locally owned and operated with a strong, sincere focus on customer service. Planters Bank has a diverse team of seasoned professionals in Western Kentucky and Clarksville, Tennessee. Since first opening their doors, Planters Bank has made a name for itself as an energetic player in the financial services market. Stop by and talk to the friendly folks at Planters and find out about the You Choose Rewards program. Planters Bank, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Hello, this is Keisha Fulcher, CEO for Community Medical Clinic, located at 310 Hawthorne Street in Princeton. Community Medical Clinic's goal is to provide access to excellent health care services that are both convenient and affordable. Community Medical Clinic is taking new patients every day, and walk-ins are welcome. The clinic is open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. to serve you and your family members of all ages. Patients are welcome with all insurances or with no insurance. Not able to come into the Princeton location? Then we have 2 other clinics. Our new downtown location in Hopkinsville at 1102 South Virginia Street and Fort Campbell Boulevard in Oak Grove. Community Medical Clinic, providing health care services at your convenience at no extra cost.
Chances are you're on your way somewhere. And you're on your way somewhere at the same time the cafe is introducing a new menu of recrafted espresso drinks, including the iced caramel macchiato, sweet caramel, drizzled over smooth iced espresso. Now chances are you're on your way to McDonald's. Nothing comes before coffee. Get any small from our new line of recrafted espresso drinks. Cafe quality for just $2. A la carte only. Limited time only at participating McDonald's. Cannot be combined with any other offer or any combo meal. Caldwell Medical Center Sleep Lab offers diagnosis for a variety of sleep problems, including sleep apnea. 1 in every 5 Americans have significant sleep difficulties, which, when diagnosed properly, can be successfully treated. A few symptoms of sleep disorders include fatigue, morning headaches, impotence, frequent urination, irritability, memory loss, high blood pressure, and loud snoring. If you have some of these symptoms, we may be able to help you identify and treat them before they cause more serious health conditions. Caldwell Medical Center offers studies in lab and in your home depending on your insurance company's requirements. Call 270-365-0300 for more information.
And Ty Englebright and Todd Griffin back at the Cab, and welcome back to the Sideline Report. We are live from the Cab. It's West Kentucky Hoops Classic Day, and tomorrow here in Princeton. We're excited about that. So Todd and I decided we were going to bring our show on the road.
Yeah, first. The first time we've last week we had a taped show, which was the first time.
Yep.
So.
And I gave that one away. I was horrible at saying today. I kept listening to it, and I was going, man, I didn't do a very good job selling that. We weren't live.
Well, that's okay. I thought it sounded really good, and it's probably a good thing we went ahead and taped that show Wednesday, because I caught that little bug that everybody had, and I'm not sure I had enough voice to get through a show on Thursday, and it cost me a trip to Butler County. I didn't get to go see the Butler County games last week, so I was disappointed about that, but I'm glad to be here today and get to see all these basketball games.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be great. Now, I'm going to send kudos out to John Miller, one of my production engineers. He helped engineer that and produce that.
It sounded really good.
Yeah. He takes pride in that and does a fantastic job, so thanks to John Miller for getting that together for us. But All right, we've been doing this top 5 thing now for a while, and it's been kind of fun. I know I'm getting good response out in town about it. So what have we brought up today?
Okay, I guess I'll start then.
Okay.
My number 5 guy on the list, and this just shows how great my list is, that this guy is number 5, Vin Scully.
Oh, man, yeah, because he's up toward the top of mine.
Nobody calls a baseball game like Vin Scully, and it's not like he's calling the game so much as you're just sitting by him in the stands and he's telling you stories about all the players. I don't think there's ever been a Major League Baseball player that he didn't have a story about. And, kind of grew up a Dodgers fan because back in the day, you were either Dodgers or Yankees.
Yeah,
it was the World Series every year. So I kind of remember watching some of those Dodgers teams before I even became a big St. Louis Cardinals fan. So, but still, you get the old satellite dish and you could pull in the Dodgers games, and Vin Scully was calling them, and it was just I'm surprised that more people haven't tried to emulate that style, because it really works. And of course, nobody else has the voice like he does.
No, it's just silky, and
it's so different. And he's telling you the story, and the game's going on, and he's telling you the game, and
such wit too.
Yes.
He'll throw some wit in there, and you have to be on your game to kind of understand where he's coming from. Sometimes, I mean, it's sometimes not as obvious. You got to go, oh yeah. But yeah, he's one of and
a great painter of a picture. I mean, just the best. So again, if I was going to try to encourage somebody to learn to do that and maybe to emulate someone, it would probably be Vin Scully.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I'm surprised he's number 5, because he's a little bit higher on my list. But my number 5, of course, I grew up a Braves fan. You know, I lived in Florida until I was about 12 or 13. We had the old Channel 17 Superstation.
Oh yeah.
Really caught the fever in '82 when the Braves reeled off all those to open the season. Not losing. I think it was 15, 16 in a row, something. I can't remember. It was 82. I don't know if you remember that, but they reeled off. I forget how. It was double digits.
I did like the '82 season, though. I like the way the '82 season ended.
Yeah, that was. That was St.
Cardinals
Louis.
and Brewers.
And Brewers. That's exactly right. Yep.
2 National League teams in the World Series. Go figure.
Yeah, that was kind of the way it was for me this year. I didn't keep up with base. I mean, I've kind of gotten away from baseball. Then I saw the Houston Astros, and I was like, well, what are they doing in the American League?
Yeah, that seems so wrong.
Yeah, it does. But anyway, Skip Carey is on my list, and I just love the way
I wonder if you do a little Skip Carey.
I'm trying to do it right now. Send it back up to the professor, but. And they had some really good announcers. John Sterling, who announces for the New York Yankees now, and Pete Van Wieren.
Oh, yeah.
And then Chip Carey ended up coming on, Skip's son, later on. But the early guys, Pete Van Wieren, Skip Carey, John Sterling, I think, were, who am I forgetting? Shoot. Pete Van Wieren. I guess that.
Was Don Sutton on some of those?
No, Ernie.
I know who you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about, but yeah. And I mean, I could put all those guys there, but Skip probably plays out because of his wit. The famous line for me was, "We've got the Magnificent Seven warming in the bullpen after so-and-so hits in this 6-4-3 double play to end the game," and he did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He said, TBS says, "We've got the Magnificent Seven warming in the bullpen after such-and-so hits in the 6-4-3 double play," and he did it.
Wow.
So Skip Carey is on my number 5.
All right, moving to number 4. Oh, my. Dick Enberg.
Oh, yeah. Man, that's surprisingly, too.
I told you my list was great.
Man, it is. I mean, I can't wait.
Dick Enberg, of course, passed away last week.
Yep,
but
he did.
If you grew up watching sports at all, Dick Enberg was the guy on NBC.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't matter what the sport was. Again,
he was there.
Another guy that could call anything, was never preachy. I'm not sure why some of the guys that call sports today think they're trying to prove a point to you. You know, call the game. That's what you're there for. Help me understand the game.
Exactly.
And, of course, whether it was tennis or just football, Dick Enberg and Merlin Olsen to this day, one of my favorite NFL announced teams. I mean, they're right there with, Summerall and those guys. I mean, and John Madden. I mean, they're just right there. They were that good.
Yeah, they were good. And I remember that duo. And I don't have a problem with it. When I was growing up in Florida, I was, close. I didn't have cable. I lived out in the country, so didn't have an NBC affiliate. The closest one was the Tampa St. Pete, and I could not. My antenna wouldn't get the NBC affiliate, WFLA in Florida. So I didn't get to see those guys a lot. I was more CBS oriented because I could get Channel 13 out of Tampa St. Petersburg. I don't know why I couldn't get WFLA out of Florida. So I did see some of those broadcasts, and then that was a great duo. And Dick Enberg, I mean, he could do the Olympics. He could do anything. He could do. He could make curling cool. Yeah. You know, but. He is fantastic. Number 4 on my list is another great football announcer, maybe one of the best college football announcers ever, and that's Keith Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
I just, you could be in another room and kind of hear him come on and just, man, he had a great way of painting the picture and making you feel like you were there and making the game, whether it was a big game or not, seem like it was the best thing that anybody could be doing at that moment.
Oh yeah, and he was just the guy down the street. He was the guy from the country store calling the game.
Exactly.
You know, whoa Nelly. I mean,
whoa Nelly. Yeah, and I mean, and he'd throw those little whoa Nellies in there, or there she go. I thought he was great at calling a football game.
Just the sound of his voice.
Exactly.
It's like, hey, big game.
No doubt about it.
My number 3 guy, fits that bill. If you believe in miracles.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
Al Michaels. I mean, just wind the guy up and stick him out there. He's just that good.
He's probably, as far as just those that are doing it right now, I mean, you almost have to say he's the best going.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I really do. And he's not even on my list. I mean, he could easily be on my list.
Yeah.
But he should be on my list, but he's not. But I do think that he's just solid. But I kind of went back to more sentimental things for me, not necessarily style and ability. That's kind of how I put it. Number 3 was Vin Scully.
Okay.
So we've already covered him, but what can you say?
Can't disagree with that.
No. So.
All right, so number 2 on my list, and now we're going to get back into my fandom a little bit, is Jack Buck. I probably listen to Jack Buck call more games on the radio than any other human being.
Yep.
I mean, growing up, every game wasn't on TV, so you found the game on the radio. I kept up with the Cardinals, almost every night by listening to Jack Buck call the games, and he was just so good. I mean, the perfect baseball guy.
Can't argue with that one, and just a style. He loved the Cardinals, and he had some really good side guys too.
Oh yeah.
I love the guy that calls now, the main guy.
Shannon.
Shannon, I like Shannon. And I thought they were a great team when Shannon was doing the color.
Well, at one time the Cardinals had Harry Carey and Jack Buck in the same booth.
Yeah, that's unreal.
That probably had to break up. I mean, that was probably too much in one booth.
And Harry, Skip is Harry's son. Yeah. He was number 5 on my list, but Harry didn't make my list, and I loved. What was so cool when we were growing up was the Cubs were on during the days, didn't have lights.
Oh yeah.
So you would come home from school, on a spring day, or and WGN would have that game on, or just a beautiful spring day. I remember, I went to Murray State, beautiful spring day, man, and you turn a Cub game on and after class and just
1 o'clock.
Oh yeah, right, Jody Davis, you just love that. So, and he did. I don't know if he's on your list, but he didn't make mine. But what a great. But Jack Buck, solid as a rock.
I mean, I used to want the Cardinals to play the Braves and the Cubs because I knew they would be on TV.
Exactly. I mean, that was back in the day. You had WGN, you had
TBS,
TBS, and I mean, they carried. TBS at one time I think carried 144 Braves.
Yeah, it was like almost every one of them.
Yeah, so there about 20 games out of the year they didn't carry. And I love those late West Coast swings. They used to go out there. National League West Coast. They play San Francisco, they play L.A., and they were out there all week.
Because of the goofy schedules, they don't do that anymore.
No, I know.
They'll go to San Francisco and then fly back and then go to San Diego and go to someplace else. And I'm like, back in the day it was just San Francisco, San Diego, Los Angeles, in some order.
Yeah.
And it was just like a 10-game road trip.
And it made sense.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, my goodness, we go on and on. Now, my number 2, this is one of those sentimental ones for me, and I didn't get to hear him make a lot of calls, but if you grew up watching Monday Night Football, you had Howard Cosell.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, I loved, boxing, too, and I loved the relationship that he had with Muhammad Ali. But granted, some people, you turn him on, and they couldn't stand the sound of him, really. I mean, just because he was just so nasally, and that's, and he just had this weird way but there's something so classic about Howard Cosell. He did have a wit, and he had a good way about him, I think, with a lot of the athletes. I mean, he and Cassius Clay, he and Muhammad Ali had a great relationship over the years, and sometimes it was a little tense. But he was also a great guy. He was a little controversial at times too.
Oh yeah.
But he wasn't always the most, I guess in our day, politically correct, so to speak. But those Monday Night Football broadcasts with that crew, with Don Meredith and those guys, it was kind of fun to have Howard up there in the booth.
Well, and to show you how different the times were, halftime highlights was must-see TV with Howard Cosell back in the day.
Exactly.
Now we've all seen every highlight of every game before, but a lot of times Monday Night Football is when you tuned in, and you got to see what happened in all the games on Sunday.
No doubt about it.
So, I hate to sound like a dinosaur, but that's what I used to do.
That's exactly right. But he just has a special place for me. And granted, I think a lot of people think, I couldn't stand to hear that guy.
Right.
I mean, you're not going to hear that really about, I don't think, about Vin Scully and some of these other guys we've mentioned, Jack Buck. I mean, you can't say, well, I don't like the way that guy sounds. But I think some people can say that about Cosell, but it's just something about the classic aspect of him and his, he'll keep
He would
going.
tell it like it is.
Yeah. So anyway, he's my number 2.
All right, we've reached number 1, and a lot of the lists we've done, I've really agonized over.
Oh, yeah.
And and even this list, I hated to leave some people off, but it really went together pretty quick for me. My number 1 guy is K. Wood Ledford.
Yeah, I figured that.
And
was at the top.
as a Kentucky fan, I mean, the guy was flawless as an announcer. I mean, and I think he called football games better than he did basketball games, and I'm probably the only person who thinks that, but still, I mean, listening to him call UK football, and let's face it, there have been a lot of rough spots for UK football through the years, but K. Wood was awesome calling football games. He was great on basketball. He just had the voice. I mean, he was just...
No, he did.
When you turned on the radio, it was K. Wood.
No,
everybody
right.
knew it.
You're right, and I know when I moved up here from Florida, I keep talking about that today, but I can't remember when I lived down there. I was in middle school age. Didn't have like a Florida news network that had and basketball certainly was not. It was all about football in Florida, and there were affiliates out there for the radio. But when I moved to Kentucky, you had the KNN, and everybody listened to the radio for Kentucky games. And so it was a little bit different. When first time I heard that voice, in fact, I was over at a neighbor's across the street, and we were out and we were kids. He had a basketball go up there, he was shooting, and the game was coming on, and I heard that voice, and I remember, man, that's awesome, and this guy can really do it.
Well, for years we had Wednesday night games at Fredonia. A group would go down there and we'd play, and of course back then it seemed like every Kentucky game, the week game, was on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
So somebody would crank up the radio, and you would hear K. Wood in the background calling the game as you'd play and try to keep up with the ball game at the same time. And it was just, but I mean, he just...
Great memories, man. The guy was fantastic.
And it didn't matter if you were Paducah to Ashland, in between. I mean, if you were Kentucky, you knew who K. Wood Ledford was. And again, just class guy.
No doubt about it. I think that's an excellent choice. And I grew up, a huge football fan, NFL, CBS. I talked about that. And for me, again, this is another sentimental one, but I think they were a great team and a great deal. And that's Pat Summerall and John Madden.
Oh, yeah.
For me, I think Summerall was I think he got overlooked a lot of times on some of the other sports that he called, but I think he and Madden, their chemistry together, the way they did the broadcast, again, fantastic. He had a fantastic voice, but it wasn't, he never, he got excited some, but it wasn't excited like in another way.
Well, they were so good on football because they were two football guys.
Exactly.
It wasn't two announcers, it was two football guys.
They were football guys, that's right.
Again, you were watching the game with two football friends.
Exactly. And that, I think that's what they made it so special. I think their relationship was one thing that made it special too, because, and like I said, I've got them number 1, number 2, and there's nothing, boom, 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 but
oh, yeah.
they made it really fun to tune in on Sundays and watch a game. And, some of the best memories of Thanksgiving are watching those guys call a Thanksgiving game. Madden pulling off his turkey leg and the turducken and all that stuff. Good stuff, man.
Well, and I think a lot of that came naturally. I think a lot of times anymore when you see things on TV or whatever, it seems forced. Like, hey, somebody had this idea, and then it went through 10 different other people, and where I think it was spontaneous, all that thing. I don't think they thought about some of those things they were doing. It just happened part of the broadcast.
I think you're right, and so that's my number one. And I know that there could be many, many more on this list.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to do 5 when you have lots of talent, lots of sentimental memories of these guys calling these wonderful games. But I think we did okay with our list.
Yeah, like I said, I was surprised mine actually went together as quickly as it did because, when we did our top 5 NFL players.
Oh yeah.
I agonized over that for a week.
Yeah.
So this one went a little easier, and there are other guys I like listening to on Sirius XM. You can listen to the opposing teams on Major League Baseball, and I always like listening to the other guys' radio because you can pick up some interesting things, and you see what they think of your team.
Exactly.
And to me, one of the greatest announced teams, the Cincinnati Reds, because they have Marty Brennaman.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
And he's just not only a great baseball guy, but I think he actually did UK basketball games on TV one year.
Okay.
Back in the 80s. I don't think that lasted very long, but I remember him doing that just very briefly. And again, just calls it the way it is, and just an old baseball guy, and not a big homer. If the Reds are stinking it up or doing something stupid, he'll tell you they're
he'll
doing
tell you,
it.
But I want to hear that. I want to hear my sports guy tell me that, and I think you do that. And Todd, you were number 6 on my list.
Oh, thank you.
You didn't quite make the top 5.
Well, that's always the answer to all those questions. If somebody asks, why wasn't so-and-so on your list? Well, they were number 6.
They were number 6. But,
they just missed. Whoever it is, they just missed.
No, you did a fantastic job as a broadcaster. Todd was the innovator of WPKY Sports. There's no doubt about it. And that's one reason why I brought him back to work with us here at the Tigers some. We appreciate because Todd was a broadcaster for at least 9 years, almost 10 years at WPKY, called all the basketball, the baseball, and the football games, and innovated a lot of the broadcasting techniques that we did at the old WPKY. So
I'm not sure I could have done all the streaming stuff, though. That's a little beyond me. But
it's been a learning curve for me. There's no doubt about it, because
that wasn't even part of the process back when I was doing games on the radio. I mean, as far as video and things like that, we were just trying to a lot of nights get on the air and get the game out
and get good sound. So. But fantastic list, and we've got a great, we want everybody to come out and enjoy this great 2 days of basketball, Todd.
Yeah, we've heard basketballs bouncing the whole time we've been here. I was afraid we would be in here and it would just be like an empty gym and it would be real quiet, but
we've got a little ambiance,
there's sort of in a basketball atmosphere, and again, we're less than an hour away from getting this thing tipped off.
That's right.
In case you didn't catch it earlier, Caldwell County will play the first game. The Lady Tigers will take on Ballard Memorial, and I think that will be a very competitive game. It's going to be a bit of contrasting styles, because I think we're going to see Ballard try to get the ball inside to their big girl, and as we've mentioned several times now, Caldwell County doesn't have a big girl, so you have to do some other things to try to compete, and so far this season the Lady Tigers have been able to do that because they sit here 6-3 going into their own tournament. So
yeah, and that's you can't argue with that. That's a great record going in this tournament, and I think it's going to be a very entertaining game and a very good game for the Lady Tigers. I love their style of play. They're come out and they have really hustled, and they play tenacious D, and man, it's going to be a fun game.
We've talked so much about the boys' teams in this tournament or in this event because some of those academies are just going to bring in some incredible talent. But the girls' teams are pretty solid. The Lady Tigers are 6-3. They're going to play a Ballard team that's 7-3. Callaway County's girls are in this thing. I think they're 8-3.
Yeah.
Corinth, Mississippi is 6-6 coming in. So those teams are pretty decent. And I think one of the best games of the tournament last year was that girls' game between Caldwell and Corinth that went to overtime.
That's right.
And of course, we
had tomorrow.
Had a boys' game last year that went 3 overtimes between Caldwell County and Livingston Central. So Caldwell County won both of those. So that was a big thing for last year. But
it can kind of mess the schedule up just a little bit.
It's a little more difficult for the girls in this event because there are 4 girls teams, and they're going to play a round-robin schedule. So that means 3 games in 2 days. The Lady Tigers just play once today, but the Lady Tigers will open up play tomorrow against Callaway County, and then just a few hours later we'll play Corinth, Mississippi. So that's a tall order, having to play those 2 games in 1 day. And
it is, and I mean, you know, it takes a little bit of toll on your legs.
You know, Ballard's girls are in that situation today.
Yes.
The Lady Bombers are going to play Caldwell County here in our first game at 11 o'clock, and then they have to come back at 3:30 and play Callaway County. So you're at a little disadvantage, but Callaway County is also going to play twice. So there you go. Callaway County plays a 12:30 game against Corinth. So at 3:30, you're going to see a couple of teams that have both already played a game today. So
yeah,
that's stuff we saw, I think, with Caldwell County's boys last week up at Butler County. They played that great game against Glasgow. Darian Boyd with 41 points in that game, and that was a really good Glasgow team that they beat 73-71. But then they came back later, and they had another pretty good team, Bullitt Central, that they played, and I think played them well for a half. But I think your legs go, especially if you don't have a really deep bench.
Yeah.
The Tigers have to keep some of those kids out there a long time, and that's just really tough to play that second game in 1 day.
It sure is, but we want to encourage everybody. We're coming up past the 10 o'clock hour. Our first game is at 11 today, and again, as Todd said, it's Ballard Memorial Lady Bombers against our Caldwell County Lady Tigers, and we'll have that game for you live here on WPKY. Eric Jacobs, Bob Hayes will bring you that action here in just a little while, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and have the nightcap for you, the boys' game late tonight. And of course, they're all streaming online at WPKYonline.com, the ones that we are broadcasting. But we encourage you to come out because it's going to be a great 2 days of basketball. All Caldwell County students are get-in free. So it's a great holiday time, and you're out of school, so come on out.
And tickets are just $7 for the entire day. You can get a 2-day pass for $12. That's not that bad to come in and watch some of the teams they've got going on.
And 7 games, you know.
Yeah, it's $1 a game.
$1 a game, yeah. So
less than that if you get the 2-day pass.
Exactly. So, Todd, it's been fun today.
Oh, absolutely.
And we're going to have a fun 2 days of basketball, folks. And you come on out and watch these great teams play. Our hometown teams, as well as some of these fine teams that are coming in from out of town. Show them some support. And come out and enjoy some good concessions, too. All this money, some of the money that it all goes to Caldwell County Athletics.
Well, like I said when we came on, just a great time to be a Caldwell County sports fan.
Yes.
The Elijah Sindelar stuff last night, still pumped over that.
Heck yeah.
And then just an incredible lineup for this West Kentucky Hoops Classic here at the Cab Gym. It's a short trip. I'm expected to see a lot of people from around the area who are just going to come to watch some of the talent in some of these games later on today that maybe don't have a rooting interest but want to see some of the kids from Aspire and some of these other academies. So it's going to be a big day of basketball.
It is, Todd, and thanks so much for coming out to the Cab, and that's going to do it for this edition of the Sideline Report here on Thursdays at 9:03, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll be here.
And we'll be here for, I know you'll be here throughout the next couple of days.
Follow on Twitter at Todd Griffin 100. We'll have some updates from throughout the day from all the basketball action.
Awesome, yeah. Don't forget about that. And we certainly appreciate Todd and the Times leader bringing you the Sideline Report here on your hometown radio station, WPKY, the Tiger. We're about 9 minutes past the hour. Went a little over, but hey, that's okay. We got basketball coming up at the top of the hour here for you on the Tiger. So for Todd Griffin, Ty Engelbright bidding you farewell for today. Come on out and enjoy some great basketball. It's the West Kentucky Hoops Classic getting underway at 11 o'clock with the Caldwell County Lady Tigers taking on the Lady Bombers of Ballard County. Till next week, we'll talk to you later here on the Sideline Report on WPKY.
County Sports, so be sure to tune in at 9:03 every Thursday for the Sideline Report, brought to you by the Times leader, Todd Griffin, in studio with all the sports news that you need to know. Catch it on your hometown radio station, WPKY, the Tiger.
Little ditty about Jack and Diane, two American kids growing up.